Okay, so I literally speak to hundreds of e-commerce founders. All of these pink squares here are calls with e-commerce founders that I personally take or some members of my team take, and so many of them are getting the marketing fundamentals wrong. Okay, I've generated close to $100 million with marketing, that's paid ads, email marketing for e-commerce founders, and I'm here to tell you that it's actually really easy, and if you can get this right, you will literally put yourself in the top 1%. Success with marketing and e-com is literally just two things. How can you effectively acquire customers? How can you cheapen that cost, right? And how much value do those customers pay you over their lifetime, and how can you increase that, okay? It's really very simple. Now, there's some sub-components to those things, so let's quickly dive into that and look at acquisition. Now, there's two parts to acquisition, all right? There's the traffic, so literally the eyeballs that you're getting on your offer, right? That's like the kind of brutal way I like to think about it. It's like, okay, so you have an offer, you've got some kind of product, whatever it is, it's some supplements, it's a sauna, it's whatever. Now, at any given point, a certain percentage of the market is ready and willing to buy that thing, okay? And so if you can just get more and more eyeballs onto that product, then you're gonna get more sales, right? So it's literally improving the cost per visit or the cost per eyeball on your product and your offering. And then of course, increasing the take rate. So let's say you get 1,000 eyeballs on that offer. What is the exact conversion rate, okay, into purchases? So, if you're getting a 1% conversion rate, then every time 1,000 people see, 10 people buy. But if you're getting a 4% conversion rate, then 40 people buy. That is huge, especially at higher scales than that, right? When you're talking about, 10,000, 100,000 visits a month. So those are the two levers that you can pull to decrease your CAC, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're spending, $1,000 a day on ads, okay, or $10,000 a day on ads. It literally doesn't matter, because if you can just improve these things, then you will improve your CAC. You will instantly make more money, okay? So this is nothing to do with ad spend. This is everything to do with just improving the efficiency at which you're acquiring customers. You could acquire 3 customers with this or 300, it doesn't matter. It's just about how much does it cost you to acquire those customers. Now, let's look at traffic. So what are the 2 ways that we can improve our cost per visit? Well, we can increase our CTR, okay? And really here what we're talking about is ads, okay? When you're running an e-commerce brand, there's obviously multiple ways that you can go about getting traffic. You've got organic and paid. Organic, you're looking at things like paying influencers to market your products, or partnering with influencers, giving them equity, becoming an influencer yourself. Okay, there's a lot of ways that you can do organic, but roughly speaking, they're all going to cost some kind of money. Or if they're not costing money, then they are costing you time, which is money. So there's no such thing as free marketing, unfortunately. Now, let's talk here more though about paid, which is really the method that most brands are using to grow, on demand. And so with paid, and even with organic, CTR is very relevant, but with paid, it's like, okay, so you're putting an ad out there, you're getting impressions, you're getting views, again, you're getting more eyeballs on that ad. It's meant to be an eyeball, by the way. How many people, what percentage of people are clicking the ad and then going to your offer over here, okay? Which is obviously where the conversion actually happens, the sale actually happens. And if you're able to increase that, then you're going to get more clicks for the same amount of spend, and otherwise more eyeballs up here, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is to lower the let's start with CPMs, is to lower the cost that it actually costs you to acquire those eyeballs, right? So you've got clicks and you've got impressions, all right? So, if you're getting 1,000 impressions, that's going to cost you a certain amount of money. If you can cheapen that, then for the same amount of spend, you're going to get more impressions, you're going to get more clicks, okay? So those are the biggest levers that you can pull. That's more towards meta, okay? Meta advertising. With Google advertising, you're more looking at your CPCs, okay? Because it's not really so much about impressions, it's really almost everything to do with clicks. And so in that case, then, you want to be improving your cost per click, okay? That's going to allow you to get, again, more clicks for the same amount of spend. Now, that is that. How do you improve those things? Well, they're all kind of linked, right? Because what a lot of these ad platforms run on is something called quality score. Basically, these ad platforms, whether it's Meta, Google, whatever, they are incentivized to show good ads because they want their users to have a good experience, right? They want their users to look at ads that are good, and they want their advertising platform to be a good business, right? For lack of better phrasing. So basically what that means is if you make better creatives, if you improve your ad targeting, so you're showing your creatives to relevant audiences, if you are, giving people even more towards this side, like a good experience on the page, if you are making a high variety of ads and creatives so that you're finding more winning angles, and you're just feeding the ad account what it needs, which is obviously creatives, right? An ad account can take dollars and it can take creatives. Those are the two forms of currencies. Then basically you're going to get rewarded with a higher quality score, and that means you're going to get better CPMs and better click-through rates, because if you have better CPMs, if you have a better click-through rate, then you're going to get better CPMs, because your quality score is going to go up, right? Making more creatives is such an easy lever to pull as well when it comes to meta, and it's something that not a lot of brands are doing at all. Like most brands that we speak to, they're just not testing enough creatives. And if you just test, 10 different assets a week, even something like that, you're going to massively improve your ability to find winning angles, which is then going to improve all of these things, and it's going to flywheel, and then you get those winning ads. And a winning ad is really just something that has, a really good click-through rate, probably. Like I can tell you for a fact that in my ad account, so I spend $1,000 a day on my own company, which is a service business, but the difference between an ad that gets a 1% CTR and a 2% CTR is huge. If we're getting a 2% CTR on a video ad, that is a crushing ad. Okay, and that's able to scale, it's able to spend a lot, it's able to do very well. So that is kind of the brief overview of traffic. All right, that's how you improve your cost per visit. And then once you're getting these eyeballs on your offer, i.e. you're getting these visits, well, what do we do then? Well, there's going to obviously be a certain percentage of those visits that add to cart. Okay, so there's two steps here. There's cart and then there's conversion. All right, so there's a certain percentage that's going to add to cart, and then there's a certain percentage that's going to complete that checkout and actually make a purchase. Okay, and so if you can just pull the lever on these two things, then you're going to improve your conversion rate de facto. Like it has to be that way. And so so really ATC here is add to cart rate is the easiest thing to affect, and you can do that by improving your offer, increasing trust by having more social proof, reviews, testimonials, decreasing friction on the page, making it easy to add to cart and improve improving that whole process, right? Just making better landing pages, making better product pages that actually match your ad angles, okay? So really the rule of thumb is if you're running Google ads, you're mostly going to be leveraging Google Shopping, right? And so that's going to mostly be going to product pages. If you're using a lot of search, it's good to send to landing pages or YouTube. If you're running a lot of YouTube ads, you should go to landing pages. And Meta, you're going to be using landing pages, okay? So landing pages, product pages. Landing pages convert way better off of Meta traffic and paid social traffic because you can match the landing page to the ad angle, and you're just going to have this like really strong link between the ad and the landing page, which is going to increase, it's going to increase the context that the buyer has going into the purchase decision. It's going to reduce any kind of confusion. It's going to increase trust because it's like, oh, this company is really, really dialed in, for lack of a better phrase. It's just going to do a lot of good things for you, okay? That's also something that Google rewards, okay, with quality score. On Google, at least, it's mapped up the three things. Expected CTR, so again, having ads that people actually click on, right, which is up here. It's also landing page experience, though, okay? So, or product page experience, whatever. Basically the experience that someone has once they click onto your ad and go to the other page, which is really broken down into things like on-site time. Are they spending a lot of time on the site? Are they scrolling on the site? Are they just bouncing, right? Those are the two main ones, really. And so basically that is a huge thing that you can do. And then when it comes to improving the checkout completion rate once they've added to the cart, it's really just increasing speed and decreasing friction. So adding things like multiple payment methods, adding things like guest checkout, again, adding more trust signals to the checkout, like all of those things, okay? And so if you're able to do those things, you're massively able to improve your CAC. Now you might be thinking, George, what about AOV, right? Everyone talks about AOV. AOV has nothing to do with acquisition, okay? And it has everything to do with value, okay? That's your average order value is something that's calculated after multiple people have purchased. We're talking about everything up to that purchase, okay? So when we talk about value, we're talking about AOV and we're talking about LTV, okay? So on first purchase, what is your average order value? And this is really important because it's going to dictate how profitable you are on the front end. Okay, so if I'm paying $50 to acquire a customer, I ideally want my LTV, my AOV to be $100. Now, this is going to be entirely dependent on your profit margins, right? So, if you have a strong gross profit margin, so you've got like 75% gross profit, you've got 25% COGS, and then you've got a few other fees on top of that. But regardless, like, you're going to be very profitable with a 2x like this, where you're spending $50 to acquire, and then you are getting $100 back on every first purchase. Like, that's going to be very profitable. But the reality is, a lot of brands these days, especially brands that are playing into this LTV thing, which is a lot of them, like supplement brands, etc., that have MRR, they're not able to get up to those $100 AOVs because they have a cheaper supplement, but one that is subscription based. So they're actually going to be breaking even on first purchase. They're probably going to have a $50 AOV, or they might even be losing money. They might be making a slight contribution loss on first purchase, which is fine so long as you do this LTV thing right. So that's the AOV thing. And improving AOV is a huge lever, to be fair. And you can do things like obviously, upsells, right? At checkout, post checkout, pre-checkout, post checkout, upsells. You can do things like, cross-selling, downselling. There's so many different things that you can do. But these are the major ones that you're going to see when it comes to AOV. But obviously, if you can increase that AOV, then you can afford to spend more. And the biggest rule of thumb is the person who can spend more to acquire a customer wins. It's really as simple as that. Okay, that's something from Dan Kennedy, who is a very, very good marketer back in the day. Now, then there's the kind of LTV component, which is like, okay, someone has purchased. How do we get them to purchase again and again? What is the average amount of purchases that someone will make with us? That is the LTV. And there's a few things that you can do here. Obviously, you can offer straight up subscription, subscription, some kind of subscription on the site. Okay, this is obviously going to be pretty, logical if you are a subscription-based brand. But then also you've really got your email marketing. This is where email marketing comes into play. And the way I see it is there's the three kings when it comes to e-commerce marketing is like your meta ads, so generating demand, your Google ads, capturing demand, and then your email marketing, which is ensuring that you have that LTV as well from all of that paid ads. And so, once you've obviously taken someone through this process, you're going to have their email, right? It's either going to be when they opt in. Okay. So, when someone's landing on your offer, you're going to have some kind of an opt-in pop-up. Okay. And that opt-in pop-up should be converting at about 10%. And so, they're going to opt in, and this is going to be, you're going to get give them some kind of a discount or some kind of a mystery gift. It's actually better to do some kind of a mystery gift or something like that. It's just a bit more unique. So you're going to get that email there. So that's actually before they purchase. And that's where you're able to actually claw back a huge amount of revenue. Because obviously if 10% of these people here, you might only get 4% buying, but you're going to get 10% opting in. You're going to get 100 opt-ins here. Okay. And then it's like, well, how many of those are going to buy on the email? And that's when your welcome flow comes into play. So once they opt in on your site, they're going to get your welcome flow, and welcome flow produces a huge, huge amount of your revenue when it comes to flows. It's going to produce by far the most amount of your revenue. And by the way, a flow is an automated email sequence that triggers on a basic action, right? So your welcome flow is going to trigger on your opt-in, site abandon when they abandon the site, browse abandon, cart abandon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And so basically having these flows in place is going to massively increase your first purchase rate, yeah, but also your LTV as well, right? After they've purchased, winning them back. And then obviously when you're running your campaigns, multiple times a week, notifying people of new offers, new product drops, things like that. This is how you're going to get your customers to come back again and again and again. And this is actually a case study over here where we were able to increase a client of ours to 32% of revenue being from email. This is from period of July to period of August. And then obviously, compared to the previous period, that's a 66% increase in attributed revenue back to Klaviyo, which is the platform we use for email marketing. Okay. Most of that obviously coming from email, and then a healthy split between campaigns and flows. And this is another red flag, right? So there's two red flags to look for here in your own email performance. If you're not at 30% of revenue coming from email, that's a problem, as we are here. So 30 to 40% is what we look for. Anything higher than that, by the way, and you're actually not spending enough on traffic, because anything higher is just too, you're not actually generating enough new customers. And then if you're all of your revenues coming from flows or vice versa, all from campaigns, that's not great as well. We want to see some kind of an even split here. It can be, 60-40, 50-50, whatever, but some kind of an even split. And so this is really how you're going to end up with a really favorable CAC to LTV equation. And I don't care what kind of business you are, whether you're selling $1,000 saunas or $20 supplements, you need to have a good CAC to LTV. It doesn't matter about your CAC to AOV so much, but it does matter about your CAC to LTV, okay? And there's no golden rule for this, but typically a 3x is what we want to see at a bare minimum. Anything lower than that and things can get a little tricky. But yeah, hopefully this was valuable. This is kind of the big overview of what I've learned over the last few years, generating over $100 million for e-commerce brands. If you enjoyed this video, if you found value from it, you can click the first link in the description and actually book a call to talk to me or my team, where we can help you with any kind of step in this e-commerce marketing journey for your brand, whether it's Meta ads, Google ads, creatives, email marketing, whatever it is. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.